Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Teams podcast. I'm your host, Mark Erickson, and this is the show where we explore what it really takes to create teams that thrive both professionally and personally. And today's guest is Chris Raulf, founder and CEO of Boulder SEO Marketing. Chris and his team help clients from local startups to global brands elevate their online presence through SEO, web design, and conversion rate optimization. And Chris has over 2 decades of hands-on experience and is a recognized leader in the international SEO strategy. We'll talk with Chris today about what's changed in digital marketing, how teams can stay healthy and productive in a very fast-moving industry, and also what it means to lead a business that spans both local and global markets. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for the great introduction, Mark. I'm excited to be on this podcast here with you.
Great. Well, Chris, let's kick things off by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and the kind of work that you and your team do at Boulder SEO Marketing.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Switzerland. I moved to Boulder, Colorado back in 96. Then moved back for a few years back to Switzerland, came back in 2000. And then I was a marketing executive for a number of years, and eventually had it with corporate America. I started Boulder SEO Marketing because I had been in search engine optimization from the very beginning, before Google was called Google. So I figured, hey, I'm getting a little bit older, and now is probably a good time to get into search engine optimization myself, start my own business. Did it basically one day to the other, was successful. I intended to start this business as a local SEO company. My first client, or the second or third client, they were located in Israel. So much for that. So much for being a local company. And then, just grew organically through organic search engine optimization, hosting events, signed on more and more clients, and then build a team. And then put the company on hold for a little bit, got remarried, had a bunch of kids in the house that needed to be driven to school, etc. And then we started the business about 5 years ago. And now search engine optimization is very different from when I started this business. Now we call it GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, with everything that's going on with AI, artificial intelligence. Everything has changed. I'm actually very excited about this change. We were one of the early adopters that got into AI and SEO immediately. So I speak globally about AI and SEO and GEO and all these fancy terms that we're now using in my industry. And I still thoroughly enjoy doing what I do.
Wow, that's fascinating. Been doing SEO you've seen so many changes, and certainly SEO continues to evolve. What's the biggest shift that you've seen in SEO, or I'm sorry, you called it generative? What was
Generative Engine Optimization, GEO.
GEO?
Yeah,
Okay.
Generative Engine Optimization. And I'll explain what that is.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So not too long ago, basically before November 2022, before ChatGPT launched, right? We did SEO the old way. Then ChatGPT launched. Most of the viewers, they're probably familiar with this tool. Most of the viewers probably use that tool. It's a generative AI tool where you can go to the interface and say, hey, write me a blog post about this or that, right? Or write me an email, etc., etc. So that was a game changer. All of a sudden, this technology had advanced to a point where it could create content like a human being would write content. So a lot of people abused this technology when it comes to SEO. They just used AI to generate blog posts, etc. They put that content up on their website. Google does not want to pay money to index low quality spun content, AI generated content. So they had to quickly update their algorithm to identify this low quality AI generated content, because it costs them money, right, to store these bits and bytes in their server farms around the world. So this was a game changer. So this is when this term GEO emerged, right? More of these generative engines emerged, Perplexity, Claude, etc., etc. They're taking market share away from Google because they're being seen as, search engines similar to Google. However, they're only going to stay in business if they're able to surface high quality content that actually serves a purpose for the person searching for specific information, right? So AI generated content will not do it. So we have to create high quality content, which I'm very excited about. So this is basically what has changed, right? AI generated content forced Google to quickly update their algorithm. I could go on and on and on about this, but in a nutshell, this is what happened since ChatGPT launched in November of 2022.
Wow, fascinating. So it sounds like you're saying that businesses are potentially really risking things if they're using AI to create content on their website. They might get what do they call it, the Google slap
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah, you're gonna get a manual penalty. So when I speak with potential customers, a lot of them have or are working with agencies that are misusing that technology. So a lot of agencies are using these AI tools to create content for these customers, and Google is going to penalize them, right? They don't want low quality content on websites. Again, Google doesn't want to pay to index that AI generated content in their server farms because it costs them money. Google likes to make money. They don't want to pay money, right? So they're de-indexing a lot of content, a lot of websites, which could be devastating for businesses, right? If your website would disappear tomorrow, you'd be in big trouble, right? This is what's happening with a lot of websites that are using these Gen AI tools to create content en masse for their websites.
Wow. And so what is your company doing with the GEO to help your clients create good quality content? I assume you're probably using some AI, but you're taking care, obviously, to not have your clients get penalized.
Yeah, so because I've been doing this forever, I guess nearly 30 years now, to me, it was very clear what had to be done after the ChatGPT moment, right? It was very clear that we're going to have to use AI as part of the process to create content, but we're not going to use the technology to write content. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but we developed a AI tool called BSM Copilot, which is now an integral part of our proprietary micro SEO strategies methodology. It's a very sophisticated SEO and content marketing methodology where we're basically developing the best piece of content on the internet in relation to a closely related set of search terms that people want to be found for. And then we use our AI tool for all the heavy lifting, the research, to basically save a lot of time, money, resources to create more high quality content in a shorter amount of time that actually has a better chance to rank at the top in Google. So in a nutshell, that's how we're using AI. We're a human-driven, AI-assisted content marketing and SEO agency. And this is what the market is demanding right now. And, luckily, because of my background, we're, I think, one of the few agencies that is well ahead of the curve here.
Wow, that is really cool. Excuse me, Chris, what are some common mistakes that you see businesses make when they're trying to improve their SEO on their own?
So SEO has gotten pretty technical. We usually deploy a team of, I would say 3 to 5, if not 6 people to a customer's SEO project. That can range from obviously a project manager, a writer, then somebody who manages the AI tool to do the research, spit out the outlines that we then have written by a real human being. We have, infographic designers, web designers, graphic designers, editors, etc. So when I started my business back in the day in 2009, when I started Boulder SEO Marketing, I did everything myself. I was already well advanced because I had been doing SEO from the very beginning. Back then, it was still possible to be a one-man show and do SEO. Now it's nearly impossible. The way SEO and GEO have evolved, right? That there's like thousands of things to do that you should be doing. So to answer your question, if you try to do SEO yourself, you're not going to have the manpower. If you're not just a micro business, if you have more than 2, 3, 4, 5 people at your company, it's going to overwhelm you. So, although we're teaching SEO in person and online, and we're very transparent, we're giving away all of our knowledge. Reality is that most people that attend my workshops, they eventually come back to me and say, hey, I gave it a try. I think we need professional help. Like with you, right? Any kind of business, like we're really good at what we do. Let's focus on that. So if you're a plumber, focus on, providing excellent plumber services. Don't try to do SEO yourself. You'll most likely fail.
Yeah, and as an aside, I did try to do SEO myself, and I did fail, and
Yeah.
I did end up hiring a professional company to do it, and it was absolutely a fantastic investment. So thankful that I made that decision. Chris, what are some key differences for your clients who maybe you have some clients who need to optimize for a local audience, but then you have some of your other clients that need to optimize for a global audience?
Yeah.
What challenges does that bring about?
So local SEO, easy. Okay. Because people search for, let's say, healthcare provider Denver or whatever it is. So it's usually a search term and then a geographic location. Way easier to optimize for than, let's take a e-commerce website, best running shoes for women or something like that. Way more competitive. So a local SEO, it's usually a smaller market. And to be honest, most local businesses, they don't have the knowledge that they know that they need help from somebody like us, because they're so busy running the business that the business is actually running them, right? So it's relatively easy to get a local client to rank fast in Google. Then, so the in between is the national SEO. We do a lot of e-commerce websites, which is challenging, but we know how to do this with our micro SEO methodology. And then international SEO, it's a whole different animal because you have to properly localize, translate the website. Then you have to transcreate the keywords that you want to rank for and not just translate them. So it's a whole different process. If you do a search for my name, Chris Raulf, and international SEO, you'll find information that I published on the internet. It's a whole different process. So local SEO, I would say 30% difficult. International SEO, that's like 100% difficult. So it's way more involved than local SEO. It requires a whole different set of knowledge, resources, and more time, etc.
Chris, thank you. Your team works across in multiple cities in different states. What strategies have you found most effective in building a cohesive team across these different locations?
I mean, so not too long ago, we used to have an office, but we are now basically a remote agency. COVID hit, I didn't want to spend, $3,000 for an office. So it was nice to meet in person, but we would only meet, I think, twice a week anyhow, because we had people all over the metro area, and it's just not effective to drive to work. At least that's my opinion. So we went fully remote, and now we meet, I would say, twice a month. Over here, I'm able to rent meeting rooms, and then we get together for like 3-4 hours, and then we go our own ways back to our computers. And then we have people, contractors all over the US, in the Philippines, in Brazil, etc. So we've been doing this for quite some time now. At the beginning, it was a bit challenging, right, to find our groove, but now we do, online fun games once in a while where we don't just talk about work stuff. We actually, play games online, learn about each other, just do things that are not just work. So it's a bit of a challenge. Also, when you work with younger people, I think for them it's critically important that they're actually able to meet in person in an office environment. So it is a bit of a challenge, but we found ways to, accommodate things that will keep everybody as happy as possible and motivated.
Love it. Love it. Chris, how do you keep your team aligned and motivated in an industry that's just, constantly changing?
Yeah, I mean, what you said there last, constantly changing, that's the motivation, at least for me, and I think for most of my employees, where our industry is changing so rapidly. I mean, daily, new AI models are being released, this and that. Google's updating their algorithm, new search engines pop up. So on a daily basis, I will send my team information to read, and then we meet on Thursdays, where either in person or online, most people are online, where we do a quiz where our lead strategist will put together a quiz online where it's multiple choice. And it's a fun way, in a playful way, to learn new knowledge, stay up to date, and it's extremely effective because I don't want my people to have to read 2-3 hours a day. That's my job, to make sure that I, find the information that's relevant, and then we try to, digest the information in a playful way so that it sticks with them.
Wow, that's fun. I love that. Chris, what qualities do you look for when you're hiring somebody for your team at Boulder SEO?
So they need to have an entrepreneurial spirit. Nobody's going to be exactly like me or have the drive that I have, because when you start your own business, that's your baby, right? And that's never going to change. I have kids, right? They're always going to be your kids. You're always going to treat them as your kids. Same thing with the company, right? So I don't expect my employees to be like me in the way they think about the company. But I want them to be passionate about the company, what we try to accomplish. I want them to be, customer service experts, where they really need to care about the client, because without the client, there's no job. So they need to excel in terms of communication. Obviously, they need to have the knowledge to do the job that they need to do. So it is a variety of things that I'm looking for. And usually I have a good gut feeling about when I talk with people that I think are a good fit. Again, I've been doing this for a very long time, so it's like dating. You usually know right away after the first few seconds, if you want to go on a second date or not. So I get that same feeling. So I'm heavily involved in hiring when we hire new people. And if I don't have a good feeling right away, it's not going to go anywhere. If there's a good feeling, hey, let's take it to the next date, and then let's talk about what do you know, how do you do things, show me past results, etc. So we don't have a very scientific approach in place, but so far so good. Usually the people that we hire, are doing really well.
Wow, that's great. So, Chris, I know running a company like yours is intense. What habits or routines do you use personally to help you stay kind of balanced and energized?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now, the recording of this interview, June 2025, across the board, most agency owners that I speak with have taken a severe hit because of geopolitical events, etc., and everything that's going on in the world. So across the board, most agencies are in hunkering down mode. They have lost a lot of revenue, as with us, right? It happens occasionally. It's not the end of the world. So right now, I'm working long hours. I would say at least 8 to 10 hours every day, including most weekends, where I just got to put in the work to get back on track where we need to be. It's already working better than, let's say, 3-4 months ago. So my routine, I get up early. Usually I wake up like 5:30. I will drink my coffee. Usually my wife's up as well at the time, so we have a little bit of time together. We talk a little bit, but read our newspapers, etc. And then I will work for probably like an hour before I do anything else, where I check my emails. So just like get the busy stuff out of the way. Then, shower, get ready, have breakfast. And then usually my calls start at 8 a.m. Then they will go to about 2, 3 o'clock. And then I'm usually so tired, I have to take a nap. I nap every day. And then I'm re-energized, so I can put in another maybe couple of hours. I will try to go for a walk if possible throughout the day. Just like think about things, get some fresh air. And then before I sit down on the couch and have a beer, I'll try to play soccer. I'm still playing actively soccer, go for a bike ride, go for another walk, do yoga. I do a lot of yoga, some meditating. So mental health, very important. And I achieve that by, staying active, and obviously eating healthy, very important. And then there's nothing wrong with having a beer or to chill, and watch something and, have a conversation with the wife or a nice dinner.
Right, right. So, how do you foster well-being among your team members, especially when it sounds like your team is pretty much fully remote, and I would imagine it's pretty screen-heavy work environment.
Yeah, I was staring at a screen all day long, which, believe me, I'm not a fan of, right? So I'm a pretty, I think, demanding person personally and work wise, but I also realize that work is not everything. So we don't really have a vacation policy in place. It's like, as long as you get the job done, as long as you deliver, you know, take a vacation, go fishing, do whatever. So we don't really monitor how much time people take off. And nobody really has abused that policy that we don't have in place. So I want to make sure that, people feel comfortable taking time off, go on a vacation, like, as long as you are responsible enough to do a good handoff with your coworker, so that at the end of the day, the customers are happy. That's the most important thing. The customer has to be happy, right? Because then I'm happy and then my employees are happy. So I'm pretty demanding, but if they do a good job, there's no reason why they couldn't take a few weeks off, or, just make sure they take enough time off so that they feel, mentally fit, physically fit, etc. And then I encourage people, take a nap. If you want to take a nap, you don't have to feel like it's a bad thing, or, yeah, take some time off when you have to. So that's very important. Then from Europe, Switzerland, where everybody has, I think, at least 5 weeks vacation. Very important. When I came to the US, I think I had 0 weeks vacation in my first job, and then I had to build it up to 2 weeks. That's not enough time. Like, I love to travel. I travel a lot, and I want my employees to feel like they have that liberty as well to explore, places around the world.
Sounds like a great culture that you've set up there. What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs or team leaders who are constantly feeling overwhelmed by the pace of change, be it online marketing or whatever business they might be in? There's a lot of fast-moving businesses these days.
Yeah, so yoga. I've been doing yoga since I started this business, and it's just like I can completely, mentally detox, just like stop thinking about things, stop thinking about it all the time. You have to make time where you don't think about the business. And my wife is doing a good job reminding me that I got to take a break, right? Where we don't talk about work, or like we just go for a hike. We're in September, we're going to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. So you have to have goals like that, where you don't always obsess about the business. And, there's not going to be internet on the mountain. So I'm working toward not, having to worry about when I'm on the mountain for 8, 9 days. I think that's important. And then meditating is a good way to, detox a little bit mentally. And then, put this thing away once in a while. If you go on a walk, don't take it with. It's really hard for me, because as a business owner, you think you always have to be connected. You don't. Things can wait sometimes. So even if it's 30 minutes, just 30 minutes or an hour, it's really good for the mental well-being to put that stuff away. And I'm still learning. I think I'm getting better. I'm relapsing occasionally, but that's okay. I think I'm doing a better job. And I think that this is what every business owner, entrepreneur is dealing with, if we're honest with each other.
Right. And I love that, Chris. And sometimes we have to give grace to ourselves when we're trying to do these things, and maybe we slip up and get back to obsessing over the staying on top of every single email and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, Last question for you, Chris. What's one thing every business leader should understand about their online presence, but often doesn't?
Oh boy, I could go on forever and ever. So if you need a website. If you run a business, you need a website. Don't let it go stale, right? A lot of businesses, they will hire a web design agency. They're even going to write the content, put it up on the internet, and then just let it sit there. It's not going to do anything for you. You got to actively publish content that you wrote, or hire somebody like us that will understand your business, write the kind of content that will connect you with your target audience out there. So that's probably, the biggest mistake that I see people make. The second biggest mistake is now that people use AI to create content. Then it's even worse, right? They have a website, they paid money for it, and then the website gets penalized because it's against Google webmaster guidelines to publish AI created content. And then C, it's like, people want to do things, but they don't have a good plan. So they just shoot from the hip once in a while. All of a sudden they have like 25 minutes here and they're like, oh, I'm going to do some digital marketing stuff. It's not going to work. So if you try to do this yourself, you need to have a plan in place, and you need to execute that plan every week. Maybe spend 2-3 days, set aside 30 minutes, an hour, where you strategically do things that will connect you with your target audience on the internet. Yeah.
Fantastic advice. Chris, this has been a great conversation. Thank you again, Chris, for joining us and sharing your insights all about SEO and building healthy teams. Before we wrap up, Chris, can you let our listeners know where they can find you and learn more about Boulder SEO Marketing?
Yeah, so the website is boulderseomarketing.com. If you Google my name, it's right there, Chris Raulf. You're going to find a lot of information, including other podcasts, webinars, conferences where I spoke at. You're going to find my LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the social media platform that I use the most. So if you want to connect with me, just head over to LinkedIn, shoot me a connection request, maybe mention that you saw me talk on this podcast. And then my personal website, chrisraulf.com. Please feel free to reach out. Always happy to talk shop or, share additional information.
Well, Chris, thank you so much, and I hope that you'll have some photos of you and your wife going up Mount Kilimanjaro this fall.
Absolutely.
Maybe on your personal website or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing those.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Healthy Teams podcast. And as always, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe and share it with your team or anybody who's passionate about business or building healthy teams. We'll be back soon with more conversations to help you build stronger, healthier teams. Until next time, stay well and lead well.
Thank you.
Here we go. Thank you so much.